If you've listened to Donald Trump, he said, WikiLeaks, I expose everything, I support you.
That was during the campaign.
How can an American leader, or who wants to be an American, say something like, because it is to his own advantage? There could be politics also, but also the American security interest is paramount, beyond party politics, and that's what it's a bit threatening.
Vice President Mike Pence was at the Munich Security Summit over the weekend, and it was at that same summit that the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said, and I'm quoting here, "The U.S. cannot be the only power. We need to set up constructive U.S.-Russia relations, economic and political cooperation. We don't want Russia to be seen as less important. We want mutual respect to recognize the global needs." But isn't Russia already a world power? Aren't they already seen as equal to everyone else?
But the fact also, you will have to look at what Russia is now. Russia is now a revisionist power. In as much as people put it in the same equation with the United States, it is lesser of a power now than it was before. For most Russians, Glasnost and Perestroika was Glasnost and catastrophe. As a result, they want to bring back the greatness in Russia that they thought that they missed. And that as a revisionist power, they are wary about democratic countries being very close to their borders and also being part of NATO and all that. So it makes them less of a superpower as they would like to be. So anything that will alter the present structure of power in the international system, it will be to their disadvantage, it will be to their advantage if the American leadership is not concerned about global leadership anymore. Mm. And that all those institutions that we have taken for granted, international cooperation, you know, UN, the United Nations and all that, if we don't want them again. You know, some years back we were talking about globalization. The world is now smaller, it's now a bigger village, a smaller village. But the fact also remains that at that time it was when Fukuyama said the end of history. What with Trump's presidential election and all that, in fact, history is fighting back with a vengeance. Issues that we don't even like, nationalism, ethnicity, tribalism, these are the things that are emerging now. So for Russia, if the United States, the security organization that has been so, that held the world together, if it gives away, if it's unraveled, then definitely they could claim those parts and extend their hegemonic powers to areas that they've always been.
I think I agree with you on that one, because it sounds more like Russia is trying to be number one. I mean, if it's a fed in American politics, it's trying to undermine America's power, and then the conversations it's having with President Trump, and then President Trump praising Russian President Vladimir Putin, it almost seems like as if the U.S. will soon become second to Russia.
The fact is that, you know, he likes autocratic leaders. He has always talked about them as powerful, strong leaders, and when a democratic country likes powerful leaders, not institutions, then eventually the United States is somewhere down the ladder. Mm-hmm. And then either other countries might also copy it, emulate it, and do what the Russians are doing.
But can the U.S. and Russia work side by side? Can they cooperate?
They've always worked together. It could be in pains for the Russians, but they've always worked together. The end of the Cold War, the beginning of the New World Order, when nations came together to do things in unison and to deal with the Kuwaiti issue when Iraq attacked Kuwait. The world worked together and all that. Mm. But within that, the attack on Iraq itself, where the United States said that with or without the United Nations, they are going to carry out this attack. That was where for Russia, they believe that they've been seen as second fiddle. Mm. So they also have to try to muster, look for areas of interest, footholds and toeholds in the area that America claims to be has. That's why you see this resurgent Russia trying to rear its heads.
And which is probably why they are in Syria helping President Bashar al-Assad fight the Islamic State. North Korea did test a missile, a ballistic missile, earlier in the week, and I know we talked about this during the week on one of the programs. They say they have a nuclear weapon that can actually reach the U.S. soil. They can reach one of the U.S. territories of Guam.
Guam.
Yes, they can reach there. So if North Korea eventually fires a nuclear missile to the United States or to a U.S. territory, how do you think the U.S. should respond?
They are going to respond in such a way that, you know, not Korea will be obliterated, but In terms
with
of
nuclear weapons?
Of course, because you cannot just stand aside and watch a country that has a nuclear weapon to attack your own people. You can't do that. What is the essence of acquisition of nuclear weapons? Is to deter. What is deterrence? Is country A telling country B, don't take this action because these actions are inimical to my interest. If you do that, there is that sort of a unacceptable retaliatory damage that I'm going to inflict on you. So America could not just stand aside. And America is an advanced nuclear country. It's not about a kamikaze that you have only one nuclear weapon missile system to go and attack. It has what we call a second strike capability for a very long time. It can absorb a first strike, and at a second strike, destroy all that you have. So definitely, the worrying thing for the West is that countries like South Korea, Japan, that are within the periphery of North Korea, these are the countries that they are worried about.
What could happen if North Korea
if North Korea is
Japan?
If North Korea attacks Japan because of the alliance relationship between Japan and the United States,
the U.S. will be pulled into that.
We'll tell you, but there's also another question: will Washington trade Washington for South Korea? These are the difficult things about extended deterrence and then the umbrella that nations use to cover themselves.
I've heard this said many times by analysts, even such as yourself, that countries that have nuclear weapons don't even talk about it. I mean, Israel has nuclear weapons, but it's not even making any conversation about that. No,
it's better you talk about it. The acquisition of nuclear weapons as a sort of deterrent, you just have to let...
But do you think North Korea has nuclear weapons?
Of course, they have tried it and they've tested. After all, the fact also remains that no country, after acquiring nuclear weapon, has ever been attacked. And that if you don't tell, the essence of deterrence is that you have to tell your enemies that we have this weapon and it works. North Korea is just trying to display it. The firing of missiles is to tell your enemy that we've tried it and it is working. We are not doing it in hiding.
Would that change the balance of power in any way?
The only thing it will do is that they will not attack North Korea. They can look for a way of negotiations.
Professor Dokubo, thank you so much for speaking with us.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Still ahead of the program, President Trump put a call through to President Muhammadu Buhari, but what did they really talk about? Do join us again.